Let me tell you something that might shake you. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Because what you're going through right now, it's not random, it's not confusion, it's not even chaos, it's awakening. And awakening doesn't arrive like a gentle whisper. It often comes like a disruption that rearranges everything you thought was certain. It touches your thoughts, your emotions, your relationships, your sense of identity. It begins to unravel the patterns you've lived by, the beliefs you've carried, and the roles you've played for so long that you forgot they were never truly you. What makes it even more intense is that from the outside, nothing may seem different. The world keeps moving, people keep talking, life appears normal, but inside you something profound is shifting, something you can't fully explain, yet you feel it deeply. It's like an inner knowing that refuses to be silenced any longer. You start realizing that much of what you accepted, tolerated, or even believed about yourself was built on survival, not truth. And that realization can feel both liberating and terrifying at the same time. Because once you begin to see, you cannot unsee. Once you begin to feel, you cannot go numb again. This is why not everyone will understand your journey. They are interacting with the version of you that existed before this awakening began. They expect the same reactions, the same energy, the same presence. But you are changing, evolving, expanding beyond what they recognize. And that gap, the space between who you were and who you are becoming, can feel isolating, confusing, and even painful. Yet it is also sacred, because this is not a breakdown. It is a breakthrough in disguise. It is the beginning of you meeting your truest self, layer by layer, truth by truth, moment by moment. And the truth is, a chosen woman doesn't just wake up one day fully transformed. No, she is broken open, layer by layer, stage by stage, until the version of her the world once knew no longer exists. This process is not glamorous, and it is rarely easy. It is not the kind of transformation that happens overnight or in a single moment of clarity. Instead, it is slow, sometimes painful, and deeply internal. It asks you to face parts of yourself you once ignored, suppressed, or didn't even know existed. It requires you to sit with discomfort, to question long-held beliefs, and to let go of identities that once felt safe but no longer serve your growth. Being broken open is not about being destroyed. It is about being expanded beyond the limitations you once accepted. It is about the cracking of old versions of yourself so that something more authentic can emerge. And this doesn't happen all at once. It happens in stages, each one revealing something new, each one asking something different of you. Some stages will feel like loss of people, loss of clarity, loss of who you thought you were. Others will feel like discovery, new strength, new awareness, new depth. But every stage, no matter how difficult, is necessary. Because you are not just becoming a better version of who you were, you are becoming someone entirely new, someone more aligned, more aware, more grounded in truth. And as this process unfolds, there will come a point where the old version of you simply cannot exist anymore. Not because you chose to erase her, but because you outgrew her. She served her purpose. She carried you as far as she could, and now you are stepping into a version of yourself that no longer needs to shrink, to perform, or to seek validation from the outside world. There are 7 stages to this awakening, and if you're feeling lost, emotional, distant, or strangely powerful at the same time, you're not falling apart. You're moving through them, and that feeling, that strange mix of confusion and clarity, of heaviness and strength, is actually one of the clearest signs that something significant is happening within you. Awakening is not a straight path. It is not neat, organized, or predictable. It is layered, complex, and deeply personal. One moment you may feel like you are finally understanding everything, and the next you may feel completely lost again. You may experience emotional highs where you feel empowered, clear, and aligned, followed by lows where everything feels uncertain and overwhelming. And this contrast can make you question yourself. It can make you wonder if you are doing something wrong, if you are regressing instead of progressing. But the truth is, this fluctuation is part of the process. Growth is not linear. It expands and contracts, challenges and reveals, breaks down and rebuilds. Each stage of awakening brings its own lessons, its own challenges, and its own kind of transformation. And as you move through them, you are not becoming weaker. You are becoming more aware, more grounded, more in tune with your true self. The feelings of distance, the emotional intensity, the sense of being disconnected from your old life, these are not signs of failure. They are signs that you are transitioning, that you are shedding layers that no longer align with who you are becoming. So instead of resisting these feelings, try to observe them. Instead of fearing them, try to understand them. Because within that discomfort lies growth. Within that confusion lies clarity waiting to emerge. And within that sense of being lost is the beginning of you finding yourself in a deeper, more authentic way than ever before. Stage 1. The disruption. This is where everything begins to shift. Suddenly, what once felt normal feels heavy. Conversations feel empty, places feel unfamiliar. You start questioning everything and you don't even know why. This stage can feel like your entire reality is being quietly dismantled from the inside out. Things that once brought you comfort or excitement begin to feel draining or meaningless. You may find yourself sitting in conversations that used to engage you, now feeling disconnected, as if you're observing rather than participating. It's not that the world has changed, it's that your perception of it has. Your awareness is expanding, and with that expansion comes a heightened sensitivity to what is authentic and what is not. You begin to notice the surface-level interactions, the repeated patterns, the unspoken energies in rooms and relationships. And this awareness can be overwhelming because you don't yet have the clarity to fully understand what you're experiencing. All you know is that something feels off, something no longer fits. And that realization can create a deep sense of discomfort. You may try to ignore it, to push it away, to return to the familiarity of your old life. But the more you try, the more persistent the feeling becomes. Because disruption is not meant to be avoided, it is meant to awaken you. It is the moment where your soul begins to signal that you are ready for something more. It is the breaking point of old patterns and the beginning of new awareness. And while it may feel unsettling, even frightening at times, it is also the foundation of your transformation. Without disruption, there would be no change. Without this shift, you would remain in spaces and mindsets that no longer serve your growth. So even though it feels uncomfortable, even though it challenges your sense of stability, this stage is necessary. It is the first step in waking you up to a deeper truth about yourself and your life. Stage 2. The isolation. This is where it gets quiet. Not peaceful quiet, but a kind of loneliness that feels almost unbearable. People fall away. Connections weaken, and you begin to feel like no one truly sees you anymore. This stage can feel like one of the most painful parts of the journey because human connection is something we naturally crave. And when those connections begin to shift or fade, it can feel like rejection, like abandonment, like loss. You may notice that conversations with certain people no longer flow the way they used to. You may feel misunderstood, unheard, or even invisible in spaces where you once felt comfortable. And this can create a deep sense of loneliness, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. It's as if you are in between worlds, no longer fully connected to your old life, but not yet fully aligned with your new one. And in that in-between space, everything can feel uncertain. You may question your worth, your choices, even your identity. You may wonder if you are the problem, if you are pushing people away, if you are somehow losing yourself. But what you are actually experiencing is a necessary separation, because as you evolve, not everyone can evolve with you. Some connections were built on versions of you that no longer exist, and as those versions fade, so do the relationships tied to them. This is not a punishment, it is a form of protection. It is creating space for relationships that align with who you are becoming, not who you used to be. And while this stage can feel incredibly isolating, it also offers something powerful, the opportunity to reconnect with yourself. In the absence of external noise, you begin to hear your own voice more clearly. You begin to understand your own needs, your own desires, your own truth. And that connection to yourself is the foundation for everything that comes next. Stage 3. The emotional purge. This is the storm. Old wounds rise. Pain you thought you healed comes back. You cry more. You feel more. You remember things you tried to forget. This stage can feel overwhelming because it brings everything to the surface. All the emotions you suppressed, all the experiences you avoided, all the pain you thought you had moved past. It's as if your inner world is demanding to be acknowledged, to be felt, to be released. And this can be exhausting, both emotionally and mentally. You may find yourself revisiting memories that still carry weight, feeling emotions that seem disproportionate to the present moment, or reacting in ways you don't fully understand. And this can make you feel like you are regressing, like you are going backward instead of forward. But in reality, you are processing. You are allowing yourself to fully experience what you once avoided, because true healing does not come from ignoring pain, it comes from facing it, feeling it, and releasing it. This emotional purge is your soul's way of clearing out what no longer serves you. It is making space for something new, something lighter, something more aligned. And while it may feel intense, even chaotic at times, it is also deeply transformative. Every tear, every moment of vulnerability, every wave of emotion is part of your release. It is part of you letting go of what you no longer need to carry. And as difficult as it may be, this stage is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. It takes courage to feel deeply, to confront your past, to allow yourself to be vulnerable. And through that process, you are not breaking, you are healing in a way that is real, lasting, and transformative. Stage 4. The awakening of awareness. Now, you start seeing clearly. Patterns, people, energy. You can't unsee the truth anymore. The illusions fade, and reality becomes sharper than ever. This stage is where everything begins to make sense, but not in a comfortable way. It's a clarity that can feel both empowering and unsettling at the same time. You begin to notice patterns not just in others, but in yourself. Repeated behaviors, emotional triggers, cycles you once blamed on circumstances, but now recognize as deeper internal dynamics. You start to see through conversations, picking up on what is being said and what is being avoided. You become aware of energies and spaces, the subtle tension in a room, the unspoken intentions behind actions, and once this awareness opens, it doesn't close again. You can no longer pretend not to notice. You can no longer settle for surface-level understanding. This can create a sense of distance between you and the world around you, because what once felt normal now feels misaligned. You may find yourself questioning relationships, environments, even your own choices with a new level of honesty. And that honesty can be confronting, because awareness doesn't just reveal the truth about others, it reveals the truth about you. It shows you where you have been compromising, where you have been silent, where you have been accepting less than you deserve. And while this realization can be difficult, it is also incredibly liberating. Because once you see clearly, you gain the power to choose differently. You are no longer operating from unconscious patterns or external expectations. You are making decisions from a place of understanding, of alignment, of truth. This stage is where your intuition sharpens, where your inner voice becomes louder than external noise. And with that comes responsibility, the responsibility to honor what you see, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it requires change, even when it means letting go. Because awareness is not just about seeing, it's about responding. It's about aligning your actions with your truth. And as you step into this level of clarity, you begin to realize something profound. You were never too much. You were never too sensitive. You were simply aware in spaces that lack depth. And now you are no longer willing to dim that awareness to fit into places that cannot hold it. Stage 5. the reclaiming. Something shifts here. You stop chasing, you stop explaining, you stop shrinking. And for the first time, you start choosing yourself without guilt. This stage is powerful because it marks a turning point in your relationship with yourself. Up until now, much of your energy may have been directed outward, seeking validation, trying to be understood, adjusting yourself to fit into expectations or to maintain connections. But in this stage, that dynamic changes. You begin to redirect that energy inward. You begin to ask yourself what you need, what you want, what aligns with your truth. And more importantly, you begin to honor those answers. This is where boundaries are no longer something you think about. They become something you live by. You start saying no without over-explaining. You start walking away from situations that feel misaligned without feeling the need to justify your decision. You stop tolerating behaviors that once felt normal, but now feel disrespectful or draining. And this can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable at first. Because if you've spent a long time prioritizing others, choosing yourself can feel selfish. But it's not. It's necessary. It's an act of self-respect. It's a declaration that your time, your energy, your well-being matter. And as you step into this space, you may notice changes in how others respond to you. Some may respect your boundaries, others may resist them. Some may celebrate your growth, others may feel challenged by it, and that's okay. Because this stage is not about being liked, it's about being aligned. It's about standing firmly in who you are, regardless of how others perceive it. And as you continue to reclaim yourself, you begin to feel a new kind of confidence. Not loud or performative, but quiet and grounded. A confidence that comes from knowing your worth, from trusting your decisions, from being at peace with who you are. And in that space, the version of you that once begged for acceptance no longer exists, because you are no longer seeking it. You are embodying it within yourself. Stage 6. The alignment. Life begins to feel different now. Not perfect, but aligned. The right people start showing up. The right opportunities find you. And things begin to flow, not because you forced them, but because you finally let go. This stage is where the external world begins to reflect the internal work you've been doing. It's not that challenges disappear or that life suddenly becomes easy, but there is a noticeable shift in how things unfold. You begin to experience synchronicities, moments that feel too perfectly timed to be coincidence. You meet people who understand you without you having to explain yourself. Opportunities arise that align with your values and your vision rather than pulling you away from them. And this sense of flow is not something you chased, it's something you allowed. Because in letting go of control and releasing the need to force outcomes, you created space for alignment to occur naturally. You are no longer trying to fit into spaces that don't resonate with you. You are no longer holding on to relationships or situations out of fear or obligation. And in that release, you open yourself up to experiences that truly match who you are. This stage also brings a deeper sense of trust, not just in life, but in yourself. You trust your intuition. You trust your timing. You trust that what is meant for you will find you, and what is not will fall away. And that trust creates a sense of peace, even in uncertainty. You no longer feel the need to have everything figured out. You are comfortable with the unfolding process. And in that comfort, you become more present, more grounded, more connected to the moment. Alignment is not about perfection, it's about coherence. It's about your thoughts, your actions, your environment, and your relationships all moving in the same direction. And as you continue in this stage, you begin to realize that life is not something you have to fight or control. It is something you can move with, something you can trust, something you can co-create with from a place of authenticity and ease. Stage 7. The embodiment. This is where you become it. Not just aware, not just healing, but fully embodied. You walk differently, you speak differently. Your presence alone shifts rooms. This stage is the integration of everything you've gone through. It's not about reaching a final destination or becoming a perfect version of yourself. It's about fully living as the person you have been becoming through every stage of this journey. The awareness you gained, the boundaries you set, the healing you went through, all of it becomes a natural part of how you exist in the world. You no longer have to remind yourself of your worth, you feel it. You no longer have to consciously enforce every boundary. It is reflected in your energy, in your presence, in the way you carry yourself. People can sense it even if they can't explain it. There is a groundedness, a confidence, a clarity that comes from within, not from external validation. And that is what makes this stage so powerful. Because you are no longer performing growth, you are living it. You are no longer trying to prove anything, you are simply being. And in that being, you influence the spaces you enter. You inspire without effort. You create impact without force. This doesn't mean you stop growing or that challenges disappear. It means you navigate them from a place of alignment, of self-trust, of inner stability. You are no longer easily shaken by external circumstances because your foundation is internal. And perhaps the most significant shift in this stage is your relationship with validation. You no longer need it. Not because you reject it, but because you are no longer dependent on it. You know who you are. You understand your journey. You understand your journey becomes your anchor. It becomes the quiet strength that carries you forward, no matter what comes next. But here's the truth, most people won't tell you. These stages aren't always linear. You might revisit them. You might cycle through them again and again. Because awakening isn't a straight line from confusion to clarity. It is a spiral, a deepening, a returning to the same lessons but from a higher level of awareness each time. And this is something that can be frustrating if you expect growth to look like constant forward movement. There will be moments where you feel like you've already healed something, only for it to resurface again in a different form, in a different situation with a different intensity. And in those moments, it can feel like you're going backward, like all the progress you've made is somehow being undone. But that is not the case. What's actually happening is refinement. Each time you revisit a stage, you are not starting from the same place. You are returning with more awareness, more strength, more understanding than before. You are seeing deeper layers of the same truth, releasing deeper levels of what no longer serves you. And that is what makes this journey so profound. It is not about reaching a point where everything is fixed or complete. It is about continuous evolution. It is about becoming more aligned, more aware, more authentic with each cycle. And once you understand this, you stop resisting the process. You stop judging yourself for not being there yet. You stop comparing your journey to others, because you realize that growth is not a destination. It is a rhythm, a constant unfolding that meets you wherever you are and invites you to go deeper, not just further. Because awakening isn't a destination. It's a continuous unfolding, a constant becoming, a lifelong evolution of the woman you were always meant to be. And this understanding changes everything, because when you stop treating awakening like a finish line, you begin to experience it differently. You begin to embrace the process instead of rushing through it. You begin to appreciate the moments of stillness just as much as the moments of transformation. You begin to see challenges not as setbacks but as invitations to grow, to expand, to understand yourself on a deeper level. And this shift in perspective brings a sense of peace that is not dependent on circumstances. It allows you to be present with where you are, even if you are still in the middle of becoming. It allows you to honor your journey without needing it to look a certain way. And over time, you begin to see how every stage, every emotion, every experience has contributed to who you are. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was meaningless. Even the painful moments, the confusing phases, the periods of isolation, they all played a role in shaping your awareness, your strength, your depth. And when you look at your journey from this perspective, you begin to trust it more. You begin to trust yourself more. You realize that you are not lost, You are evolving. You are not behind, you are unfolding at your own pace, in your own time. And that realization allows you to move forward with a different kind of energy, not rushed, not pressured, but grounded, intentional, and aligned with your truth. So now I'll ask you, honestly, when you look at your life, your emotions, your solitude, your growth, which stage are you at right now? And this is not a question meant to pressure you or to place you in a box. It is an invitation to reflect, to pause, to truly observe where you are in your journey without judgment. Because the answer may not be simple. You may find that you resonate with more than one stage at the same time. You may recognize parts of yourself in different phases, overlapping, intertwining, shifting depending on the moment. And that's okay. What matters is not labeling yourself perfectly, it's understanding yourself honestly. It's recognizing what you are feeling, what you are experiencing, what you are being called to face or to embrace, because awareness is the first step to alignment. And when you take the time to reflect on your journey, you begin to see it more clearly. You begin to understand why certain things had to happen, why certain people had to leave, why certain emotions had to surface. And in that understanding, you find a sense of clarity, even if everything is not fully resolved. So take a moment, be real with yourself. Not the version of you that the world sees, not the version that tries to have everything together, but the version of you that is in the middle of becoming. Where are you right now? What are you feeling? What are you being asked to release, to learn, to step into? Because wherever you are, it is valid. It is part of your path. And most importantly, it is leading you somewhere meaningful, even if you can't fully see it yet.